Last week, at JFK Terminal 4, I watched a tragedy unfold that had absolutely nothing to do with the plane crash. A 72-year-old grandmother, a woman who looked exactly like my own mom, was standing at the security checkpoint, sobbing uncontrollably. She wasn't crying because she missed her flight. She was crying because a TSA agent had just swept her entire month's supply of heart medication and pain management pills into a hazardous waste bin. Just like that, gone. She looked at me. I was passing through the crew lane, and she pleaded, "But I've flown with these for 20 years. Why now? Why today?" I couldn't do a thing. I just had to keep walking. And the worst part, she was right. She had flown with those exact pills a dozen times before, but the rules of engagement have changed, folks. Enforcement is tightening up. Technology is getting smarter. And what slid by in 2023 is getting flagged, confiscated, or worse, getting you detained in 2025. If you think, because you have a doctor's note or a prescription, you're untouchable, you are dead wrong. I'm Benny. I've been a flight attendant for 15 years. I've clocked more miles than a space shuttle. I've seen passengers get arrested. I've seen them get banned from airlines for life, and I've seen vacations ruined before. The plane even leaves the tarmac, all because of what was in their medicine bag. Today, I am not going to read you the TSA website. That boring legal jargon will put you to sleep. I'm going to tell you the truth about the 8 specific types of medication and medical items that are currently triggering the biggest headaches at security checkpoints across America. And more importantly, across the globe. Some of these aren't technically banned in the sense that they are illegal drugs, but the way you are packing them makes them banned from entering the secure area. We are going to go deep into the psychology of the security checkpoint. I'm going to give you the scripts, the exact words you need to say to the officers to save your property, and I'm going to save you from a nightmare scenario that happens way more often than the airlines will ever admit. Let's get real. The first item on this list is the #1 enemy of seniors traveling today. And it is heartbreaking because you think you are being organized. I'm talking about the weekly pill organizer. You know what I'm talking about. Those plastic containers with the little flip-top lids labeled Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You spend an hour on Sunday night carefully sorting your blood pressure meds, your statins, your vitamins, popping them into those little slots, so you don't have to carry 6 different bulky bottles. It's smart, it's efficient, and the TSA absolutely hates it. Here's the secret they don't tell you. A pill outside of its original, pharmacy-labeled container is technically an unidentified substance. Now, for years, domestic TSA agents have been lenient. They see a grandma with a pill sorter, they wave her through. That is the social contract we've relied on. But that contract is breaking down. With the rise of fentanyl and the crackdown on opioid trafficking, agents are under immense pressure to identify everything. When that plastic box goes through the X-ray, the scanner doesn't see heart medicine. It sees organic clusters of unidentified density. If you get a rookie agent, or an agent having a bad day, or if the scanner flags an anomaly, they are going to pull that bag. And here's the conversation I hear over and over again. "Sir, what are these pills?" "That is my Lipitor." "How do I know that?" "Where is the label?" "I left the bottle at home to save space." Checkmate. You have just lost that argument. If they want to be by the book, they can confiscate it. And if you are flying internationally, forget about it. If you land in Dubai, Japan, or Singapore with a plastic box of loose mixed pills, you aren't just losing your meds, you could be looking at detainment. My advice. I know it takes up space, but you have to bring the original bottles. If you absolutely must use an organizer for convenience once you arrive, pack the organizer empty. But during transit, those pills need to be in a bottle with your name on it. Or, ask your pharmacist for travel labels. They can print extra stickers for smaller baggies. Do not let efficiency cost you your health. This brings me to the second category. And this one is tricky, because it involves physics. Liquid medications over 3.4 ounces. But Benny, I hear you screaming. Medications are exempt from the 311 liquids rule. Yes, you are right, they are exempt. But, and this is a massive but, only if you follow the protocol that 90% of passengers ignore. I watched a guy get into a shouting match at O'Hare last month. He had a giant bottle of prescription cough syrup and a large bottle of specialized contact lens solution. Both were over 3.4 ounces. He left them deep inside his carry-on. The bag goes through. The belt stops. The agent calls out, "Bag check." The agent pulls out the bottles. The passenger says, "That is medicine. It is exempt." The agent looks at him, deadpan, and says, "Did you declare it? Number." Then it is a prohibited item. Here is the insider secret. The exemption only triggers if you declare the item before the screening begins. You have to take it out of your bag, put it in a separate bin, and verbally tell the officer, "I have medically necessary liquids in excess of 3.4 ounces. If you try to sneak it through, hoping they won't notice, you look like you are hiding something. That triggers a secondary screening. Now they have to test the liquid. They have to open the bottle. They have to hover a test strip over the fumes. And if their machine is calibrated slightly off that morning, false positive, boom, confiscated. I've seen passengers lose hundreds of dollars of specialized liquid nutrition or prescription washes because they were too lazy to take them out of the bag. Don't be that person. Declare it loud and proud. Now, before I get to the third item, which is something millions of you use for joint pain and anxiety, I want to pause, because what I'm telling you isn't just about rules, it is about mindset. You have to understand that the airport is not a hospital. The people working there are security officers, not nurses. They don't care about your health, they care about their metrics. If you want to protect yourself from that system, if you want to fly like a pro who breezes past the amateurs arguing at the gate, you need to subscribe to the channel right now. I'm dropping videos every week that the airlines are praying you never see. Join the crew, hit that like button, and let's keep going. Item number 3. Gel ice packs. This is a specific ban that hits diabetics hard. You're traveling with insulin. It needs to stay cool. So you grab those blue gel packs from your freezer, toss them in your cooler bag, and head to the airport. You get stuck in traffic. The Uber takes too long. The check-in line is a nightmare. By the time you get to security, 3 hours have passed. You put your cooler on the belt. The agent pulls it. Why? Because your ice pack is slushy. Here is the rule that catches everyone. If a gel pack is frozen solid, rock hard, it is considered a solid. It is allowed if it is slushy, partially melted, or squishy. It is considered a liquid. And since a standard ice pack is way more than 3.4 ounces, it is banned. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen a diabetic passenger frantic, because TSA is throwing away the only thing keeping their insulin from spoiling. The agent will say, "Sorry, it is a liquid." The passenger screams. It is for a medical device. Technically, there is a medical exemption for this too, but it requires a screening process that is a nightmare. They have to open the cooler, swab everything, and sometimes they still say no if the liquid looks suspicious. The veteran move? Ditch the gel packs, use frozen grapes. I'm serious. A Ziploc bag of frozen grapes stays cold for a long time, and if they melt, they are food. TSA doesn't care about solid food, or bring empty Ziploc bags and ask a Starbucks or a restaurant on the safe side. Airside to fill them with actual ice. Do not rely on a cheap blue gel pack that melts into a prohibited liquid. Number 4. This is the one that gets people arrested. I am not talking about confiscation. I am talking about handcuffs. Cannabis-based medications, CBD, and THC. Listen to me very closely. I don't care what the law is in your state. I don't care if you have a medical marijuana card issued by the governor himself. I don't care if it is just CBD gummies for sleep. The TSA is a federal agency. They operate under federal law, and under federal law, cannabis is still a controlled substance. Now, officially, the TSA website says, "We are not looking for drugs." And that is true, they are looking for bombs. But, and this is a massive life-altering, but, if they stumble across your weed gummies while searching for a water bottle, they are legally obligated to call local law enforcement. Here is the scenario. You are flying from Los Angeles, legal, to New York. Legal, you think you are fine. But you are at lax, the TSA finds your stash. They call the LAPD now. The LAPD might just tell you to throw it away, because it is legal in California. But you have just missed your flight because you spent 45 minutes dealing with the cops. However, if you are flying internationally, if you fly to Russia, or the UAE, or Singapore with CBD oil that contains even a trace of THC, you are trafficking drugs. I had a passenger, a sweet old guy named Arthur. He used a CBD cream for his arthritis. He put it in his carry-on for a flight to Dubai. Thank God he mentioned it to me while we were boarding in New York. I grabbed his arm and said, "Arthur, do not take that off this plane. Throw it in the trash right now." He thought I was crazy. I explained to him that in the UAE, products with even trace amounts of THC can land you in prison for 4 years. 4 years for arthritis cream. The ban here isn't just TSA, it is the destination. Senior travelers often think it is medicine, so it is okay. The world does not care about your prescription. Leave the CBD at home. It is not worth the risk. 5. Nitroglycerin tablets. This is a specific one for my heart patients out there. Nitroglycerin is a lifesaver for angina. But look at the name, nitroglycerin. It is chemically very similar to the components found in explosives. Modern explosive trace detectors, ETDs, those little swabs they wipe on your hands or your bag, are incredibly sensitive. If you have handled your heart medication, and then you touch your luggage handle, and then they swab that handle, the machine is going to scream, alarm. Suddenly the vibe changes. The agent stops smiling. A supervisor is called over. They will pat you down. They will tear your carry-on apart. I am not telling you not to bring your heart meds. You need them. But you need to be aware of this chemical trigger. If you handle those pills, wash your hands thoroughly before you go to the airport, and tell the officer up front, "I am carrying nitroglycerin heart medication." If you trigger the alarm, and you haven't said anything, you look like a threat. If you warn them, and the alarm goes off, they say, "Ah, right, the heart meds." Context is everything. 6 is a piece of hardware that has been causing massive confusion lately. Portable oxygen concentrators. POX. This is an us versus them situation between the flight attendants and the ground staff. You buy a portable oxygen concentrator online. The website says, "VACA approved." You think you are good to go. You get to the gate, and the gate agent stops you. "Sir, I can't let you on with that." But it says FAA approved. Here is the secret, the sticker on the machine doesn't matter as much as the battery math. Airlines have a specific rule. You must have enough battery life for 150% of the flight duration. If the flight is 4 hours, you need 6 hours of battery. If you only have 4 hours of battery, you are banned from boarding. Why? Because if we get into a holding pattern, or we divert, and your battery dies, you have a medical emergency at 30,000 feet. That is a liability the airline will not accept. I have seen seniors grounded, literally denied boarding, because they didn't have the extra battery. And TSA, they have their own rule. They need to verify the batteries are not the explosive kind. If you travel with oxygen, do not just bring the machine. Bring the manual, and bring twice as many batteries as you think you need. The ban here is administrative, but the result is the same. You aren't flying. 7. The codeine trap. This is specific for those of you who might have older prescriptions lying around. Or maybe you are traveling to handle a family matter and you are stressed. So you pack some Tylenol 3 with codeine. In the US, with a prescription, you're fine. But this is where the global TSA, The customs agents at your destination come into play. Countries like Japan and Greece have zero tolerance for certain stimulants and opiates. Japan, specifically, if you bring a stimulant-based medication, like certain ADHD meds, or codeine into Japan, without pre-approval from the government, called a yakan shumei, you can be arrested and deported. I'm talking about medications that are standard in the US. But let's bring it back to the US TSA checkpoint. They are also looking for pills that don't match. If you have a bottle of aspirin, but inside you've mixed in a few codeine pills, just in case, and they decide to look, that is concealing a controlled substance. I know, you're thinking, Benny, who has time to check every single pill in a bottle, most of the time? Nobody. But if you are the random search, if the dog sits next to you, why take the chance? The risk-to-reward ratio is terrible. Keep the controlled substances in their own, labeled bottle, always, finally. Number 8. This one is weird, but I've seen it happen twice this year. High-value liquid supplements. I'm talking about things like heavy honey, specialized syrups, or those fancy collagen gels that seniors are buying in droves right now. People treat these like food. It is just Manuka honey. It is for my immunity. Honey is a liquid. Peanut butter is a liquid. Yogurt is a liquid. The TSA rule is, if you can spread it, spill it, spray it, or pump it, it's a liquid. I watched a woman lose a $60 jar of specialized medicinal honey at Newark. She was furious. "It is a solid paste," she yelled. The agent shook the jar. It moved. "Sorry, ma'am, it is a gel." Into the trash it went. If you are buying expensive supplements that are anywhere near a liquid state, put them in your checked bag. Do not bring them in your carry-on. The medically necessary excuse rarely works for supplements, unless you have a very specific letter from a doctor stating you need that specific honey during the flight to survive. And trust me, no doctor is writing that note. So how do you navigate this minefield? How do you make sure you never end up crying at the checkpoint, like that poor woman I saw at JFK? You need a strategy. Strategy 1, the pre-check mindset. Even if you don't pay for TSA pre-check, which you should, act like you have it, be ready, have your meds in a separate clear bag, not buried in your socks, right on top. Strategy 2, the documentation shield. Paperwork is your armor. If you have a controlled substance, have the paper prescription folded around the bottle. If you have a liquid, have the doctor's note. Agents are bureaucrats. They respect paper. If you hand them a piece of paper, their aggression level drops 50% immediately. It signals, I am prepared. I know the rules. Strategy 3, the humble question. If an agent challenges you, do not argue. Do not say, I know my rights. That triggers their ego. Instead, ask a question. Say, I understand you have to be safe, but can I speak to a supervisor to clarify the medical exemption rule for this item? Clarify. That is a magic word. It's polite, but it signals you know there is a rule. Flying used to be glamorous. Now, it's an endurance sport. But you don't have to be a victim. You just have to be smarter than the system. I want you to go to your medicine cabinet right now. Look at what you were planning to pack. Is it in the right bottle? Is it a liquid? Is it temperature sensitive? Do the work now, at home, with a cup of coffee in your hand, so you don't have to do it at the airport with a TSA agent barking at you, and 300 angry people standing behind you checking their watches. The skies are beautiful, folks, but the ground is a gauntlet. Be ready for it. And listen, I've got another video coming up that you absolutely need to see. It's about the dirty dozen. The 12 dirtiest spots on an airplane that you touch every single time you fly, and why one of them is probably making you sick. Spoiler alert, it's not the toilet handle. Click that video on the screen right now. You do not want to miss this. I'm Benny, safe travels, and I'll see you in the air.